there, Must Love MMA fans. Welcome to part 2 of my interview with Titan Fights Lex McMahon, because every promoter has a story. Lex, thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, Susan. Been fun chatting on our last episode, and I'm looking forward to getting into some of the behind-the-scenes dirt.
Yeah, well, we only ask nice questions. Don't worry. We're not tabloid. Don't get scared. All right.
No, I'm squeaky clean-ish.
So tell me a little bit about how you got into MMA. Were you a fighter yourself?
You know, I've trained martial arts my entire life. I mean, really since I was, early teens. So it's been a big part of who I am as a person. Everything from wrestling to Goju karate to Muay Thai to, boxing, Krav Maga. Like, I've done tons of different martial arts over the years and fell in love with it. Obviously a huge fan of the UFC, but really how I got involved was by accident. My background after I left the Marine Corps, I went to law school and became an attorney and worked as an attorney for a few years, but knew I wasn't going to do it long term. And then I, kind of went and got a business degree, an MBA, and became an entrepreneur and launched a company, sold that. And then next thing you know, I'm in venture capital because I was trying to figure out how I could marry all my skill sets and background together. Venture capital made made sense. 2008 hits. I lose 30 deals in the pipeline and the financial crisis of 2008, which was less than fun. But during that time, I kind of took some time to figure out what I was going to do next. And while I was doing that, I was doing some work for my dad, who had been in entertainment for quite some time, and I was negotiating some of his contracts. And I negotiated his contract to appear in a Super Bowl ad alongside MC Hammer. And that ad went on to win the best commercial of the Super Bowl that year.
Boom to death.
Got tons of traction, but they filmed it at my house, my dad's house. And while we were on set, I got to know the guy who owned the company, a gentleman by the name of Jeff Aronson.
Okay.
And Jeff and I remained in contact. He and I and Hammer all talked about, the UFC and fights, and you could tell we were all, interested in it. A couple months later, Jeff reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I want to start sponsoring fighters with my company." I'm a Marine, so Marine, we just figure it out, right? So I said, "Yeah, man, absolutely, no problem." I'm like, "Holy crap! How am I going to?" I found a way to get to Randy Couture, and I said, "Hey, Randy, I got a deal for you. I'm going to write a check for you, and it's a big check, and I just want you to put this logo on your shorts." And he's like, "Sure." And that's how it started. And when you're the guy writing checks, and this is back before Reebok, and when the endorsement opportunities were a big part of an athlete's salary, it was, or their overall pay structure. It was a great opportunity for me to get to know everybody in the industry.
Right.
Because when you're the guy writing the check, everybody wants to know you. So I got to know everybody within the UFC. I got to know everybody within Bellator. I got to know everybody, in terms of the fighters. And I looked at it, and I went back to my partner Jeff, and I said, man, there's an opportunity here, because there's not a lot of people with business acumen that are working on the athlete representation side. And with my education and background, your education and background, we could I think do something. He laughed and he goes, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I've been thinking that all along, and that's why I had you do the endorsements, is I wanted to learn more about the market and get a sense of things. And, I think you're 100% right. Let's do it. Let's launch something, and we'll get Hammer involved. And so we ended up getting MC Hammer involved, and we launched Alchemist Management, which, for a long time was one of the top management companies. But I was traveling nonstop. I was gone 3 weeks out of the month, sometimes 6 weeks straight. I'd fly to Macau and then jump on a plane and fly to, Germany somewhere, and then finally make my way back home. And I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I'd spoken to Jeff, and I said, "Man, I'm starting to get burned out." And he goes, "You know what? I got the perfect thing. I want to buy a league." And he actually tried to buy Strikeforce before the UFC did. And, UFC, the Fertittas had some deeper pockets, so they outbid him and went for it. But he had always had on his mind that he was going to own a league, and So he had the opportunity to acquire Titan, and he said, "Listen, I want you to run it." And I was like, "You know what? Perfect." So we took Titan all around the country for a year and a half, 2 years, and then we said, "You know what? We've got so much talent in South Florida.
Exactly.
Let's base here." I mean, it's where we're at. He and I both live in Parkland. We're a mile apart from one another. Our office was in Pompano for a long time. Now it's in Parkland, and so that's how I got into the sport. And I've been incredibly thankful and appreciative to my partner Jeff for affording me the opportunity and believing me, and thankful for myself for busting my ass because it's not an easy sport. But he gave me the opportunity to work hard, and I've taken full advantage of it.
Congratulations, because Titan Fights is really such a great promotion. And, so many of the new fighters that are coming out, some of the new management teams and some of the promoters, sadly enough, there's a lot of them that are wannabes, and the fighters are just not getting paid. I'm not going to mention names, but there's several of the recent organizations have screwed the fighters, so to speak. Yeah. And it breaks my heart because I don't think people really understand that,
how hard
a lot of the fighters they don't make a lot of money. And so they're doing it for the love of the sport. In fact, a lot of the fighters that are not in the UFC they have 2 jobs. So they have family to feed. It depresses me so, but congratulations that we've got you here. So you mentioned a little earlier in your interview that you were working with someone and getting a contract signed with MC Hammer. You got to spill the beans now. You got to tell people who that was because you've got a famous dad.
Yes. So my dad was the coolest cat around. He was part of the Rat Pack. He counted as part of his friends Sammy Davis, Dean Martin, Sinatra, Johnny Carson, all those guys. My dad was Ed McMahon. He was a TV icon, and I learned from him so much about entertainment, about representing people that are either performers or entertainers or athletes. I learned so much about it because he was at the highest level.
Oh my God, amazing!
So I got exposed to everybody you could be exposed to, and I learned how deals were done, and so it was a great proving ground for me. It truly was, and I'm so fortunate. But I think more than anything, I learned from him how to treat people.
Yes.
How to treat people with respect and dignity. The one thing I think universally my fighters will say about me is that I care. Yeah. And that they know I have their best interest in heart. We may not always agree, and we may not come to the terms that they want on a contract or something like that. But push comes to shove, I do right by them. I treat them right, and I think that I've got that reputation. I've always had that reputation, yeah. And I've been very fortunate that people notice when you do the right thing, and I don't need people to evangelize about it, but it's nice when they do recognize it because it's an endorsement of hard work, I think.
Integrity, baby. That's all I call it. There's a lot of people that want it, some that should have it, and most of us should be bringing out more integrity in all our business plans and all our contacts. All right. Now we're going to go to some other interesting questions for you.
What do you got, Susan?
I got some good questions for you. Fill in this sentence. Start it with Lex McMahon is?
Lex McMahon is first and foremost a family man.
Okay.
Second, I'm a philanthropist. I believe in serving the military veteran community. It's a huge part of who I am. I'm a Marine who had 2 combat tours in Somalia. So I believe in giving back to, my brothers and sisters that are involved. So, those are the things that I am at my core, and what I do for a living. I'm blessed that it's an amazing thing and it's a huge part of my life. But first and foremost, I'm a husband and I'm a father, and I'm someone whose impact will be measured by the effort that I did for others and the service I gave others.
That's nice. Very good. We like that. I couldn't have said it better myself because that is what you're all about. Yeah. Congratulations on your awards. We've got the MMA Awards coming up. Talk to us about what you were nominated for and how excited are you because you're in several categories.
Yeah, there's actually 3 that we've been nominated for 4 actually. that we've been nominated for. One is Worldwide Promotion of the Year. Listen, it's not putting us against the UFC. What it is saying, the promotion that's a Florida-based promotion that is making the biggest impact on a global stage, right? So it's Titan FC and Island Fights, which are both on UFC Fight Pass. Island Fights is Roy Jones Jr. They do a great job in promoting it. The guy who runs the show, Dean, awesome dude. Consider him a friend. I think they do a tremendous job. And then, there's Titan. And we have, being on Fight Pass for now going on our 4th year, we have been exposed to 150 countries, but we've also promoted shows internationally now. We've got that under the belt, that feather in our cap that huge. Kind of validates that we're on the global stage. So I'm excited about that. I hopefully that goes great for us and works out. We're also up for, I believe we have Eric Quall, who does our media for. He's up for Journalist of the Year, and he does a great job through his platform, My MMA News, as well as part of the Titan team, telling the stories of our athletes and our organization and our philanthropic work, because that's all they're all integrated into one kind of holistic piece. So he does a great job. Rodolfo Roman, who is our ring announcer, he is up for ring announcer. I love him. So we've got those 3. Then there's another one that's been it's not contested, so to speak. It's just an award. I'm not at liberty to disclose it yet, but we will be getting something along those lines that will be pretty exciting, and that I'm humbled to be a part of.
Well, I'll be there, don't worry. So we'll make sure we report that.
That's right. Now, here's the thing. I hope I'm there. I am going to be, the day before is Stefan Struve's fight in... That's right. He's going to be in the Czech Republic, in Prague. And Stefan has been my guy for forever. I know. He lives at my house when he's here in the United States training.
So you won't be there.
He's been doing it for the past 4 years. I'm working with the travel agent to take the earliest flight home. It's the awards start at 5 p.m.
Right.
It's going to be tight, but I'm working hard to make it happen. If not, my partner Jeff will be there, and he'll represent us well. And I know that listen, he's an amazing guy who's pretty good with the gift of gab as well. So he'll keep the fans entertained if we are fortunate enough to be honored.
Well, good luck. I hope you make it back, because it's a great award show, and it's a fun time here for all the South Florida MMA community. All right. What is your secret talent?
Hustle, baby. Hustle. All there is. Hard work, Susan.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not, I'm a smart guy, but I'm not smarter than, whatever. My true thing is unwavering tenacity. I just bust my ass and I don't stop. And I think as long as you work hard, good things happen. And if you work hard and a good person, then better things happen. And so I try to do both those things. I try to be a good person who works hard.
If you could have a secret, special talent, so to speak, like a superpower. If you could have a superpower, what would your superpower be?
Man, that's a tough one, but I'm going to say being able to travel almost instantaneously.
Oh, I want that too.
Because I want to be able to go from point A to point B. I want to be able to be in Prague for Stefan's fight and get back in time to be a part of Frank Morohone's Florida MMA Awards. I want to be able to, travel for all this, for the work and for all these amazing opportunities that I'm presented with, but still get home in time to see my family. So if there's one thing, it would be able to cut down on the travel time by being like super fast flying.
Yeah, I want that too, because I'm always jet lagged. I never sleep on the plane. I try, but I never sleep. It's just like craziness. All right, one final question for you, since you've been in the game so long. Who is your favorite fighter and why? BJ
Penn.
Oh, okay.
Hands down, 100% BJ Penn. I've never worked with BJ. He was just amazing to watch, and I worked with some incredible athletes as a manager, and I've worked with incredible fighters, as a promoter. Guys like Wonder Boy. Rory McDonald, Nate Marquardt, Brendan Schaub, on and on and on. So many amazing fighters. But BJ,
he's the legacy.
He's a legacy guy, but he fought everybody from any weight class. When he fought in Japan, he fought dudes at heavyweight. Like it didn't matter to him. He had this mentality of a warrior, and it wasn't about the business side of as much, and which obviously it needs to be, right? And fighters now they have a very finite career and they need to make smart decisions. But he was fighting in his heyday during a time when it was less about that. It was more about going and putting on fights. And he did it better than anybody else, for a long time. And so even when BJ fights now, I don't love seeing it. I love seeing BJ, and I love. So if there was one guy to watch fight, it would be BJ, 100%.
It breaks my heart because if you haven't been in the sport for a long time, the newer fight fans are seeing BJ lose. And there's so much more. The people that are just like sort of tuning in out, there's so much more to him. And you have to go to UFC Fight Pass and watch it. That's what they'll do. All right, Lex, before we go today, anything else you want to add, sir?
No, I thank you so much for the opportunity. Come out and share some of our stories and some insight into what we have going on at Titan Fighting and what I myself have going on with our athletes and some of our philanthropic work. I guess that would be one thing is check us out on all the social media handles we talked about, but also check out our philanthropic partners, which are A Hero and SAL, Special Operations Wounded Warriors. Those two organizations that they work to help veterans. And they're great organizations that are all volunteer based. They're 501(c)(3)s. They do tremendous amount of work. A Hero has helped over 5,000 veterans, and I believe SAL is about the same number, but even focused on a more narrow community, which is the special operations community. The SEALs, the Green Berets, the Delta Force, those guys who've been at the very tip of the spear. Check them out, support them, support those warfighters, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that make this all possible.
Great interview, Lex. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate yours as well on a Sunday.
Okay.